Hello everyone, my name is Kristen Gies, and for those of you that don't know me, I'm the founder of a social skills mentoring program called Advising Generation Z, which is dedicated to empowering millennials and school-age youth. I'm super excited to be hosting this new series called Not An Outcast. We've partnered with a few millennials in the DFW area who are all successful, but all have one thing in common, which is that growing up made them feel like an outcast. You're going to hear stories and testimonies today that may make you angry, that may make you sad. So pull up a chair, get some popcorn, and enjoy.
So one particular instance that comes to my mind is sophomore year of high school. I was bullied. It started back in middle school, but whatever, I don't care. When it followed me into high school, that's when it really started to affect me. People would follow behind me and call me a gorilla. People would make monkey noises behind me. People would leave monkey pictures on my locker. I was in the color guard, so when we went to football games, they would make the noises on the bus, and they would laugh at me as we're lining up. And everybody kind of saw this happening, so I was kind of mad because nobody stood up for me. Like, how can you let somebody call me a monkey and not stand up for me? I was very angry. And so as sophomore year progressed and it just continued, I stopped going to school. I would get up in the morning, get dressed, like my mom would say goodbye. I'd grab my book bag and I'd go to the bus stop, and as soon as I saw her drive by, I'd turn right around and go back to sleep every single day. And I was smart enough to, when the school would call and tell her that I wasn't there, I would delete the phone call and delete the message. So she literally had no idea. Now, I would always make sure to be at school last period for color guard, because that was my favorite thing, was color guard. And so I'd always make sure that I was at school. And so, I missed 7 periods of a day. Nobody said a word. And then the end of sophomore year came, and they called my mom for a meeting, and they said, your daughter has missed 77 days of school. So 77 days of sophomore year, I did not go, and they told me that I would have to repeat sophomore year. It's either going to be, there's no summer school, there's no Saturday school, you're going to be a sophomore again. And there was no way I was going to go through that again and be bullied again. So I left high school and I went and got my GED in August of 2007. I passed the first try, but after that, there's no graduation, there was no homecoming, there was no prom, there was none of that, because I left. I didn't want to do it anymore, so I left.
Katrina, tell us how this experience has shaped you into the person you are today.
Being so angry has turned me into almost the most caring person. I am now married to a wonderful man who treats me like a queen. My husband tells me I'm beautiful day in and day out. I have 2 amazingly beautiful children, and it's made me attentive. It's made me present. My children will be raised in love. My daughter will know that she is a queen, and my daughter will know her beauty. My son will know that he is a king, and he will treat all women with respect.
What advice would you give to someone dealing with what you dealt with in high school?
I know it's hard. I know you're angry. I was there. I used to take a pencil eraser to my skin because I wanted to erase the pain. I know it's hard, but you can do it. Just keep pushing. You won't be angry forever. Did I ever think my life would be here? No, I did not. I am now in school. I am on Dean's List every single month. These people can't even pass college. They dropped out of college and I'm on Dean's List with a 4.0 GPA with 2 kids. It is okay. I know you're angry. I know it's hard. Just keep pushing. It will get better, I promise. You are not an outcast. Let me say that again. You are not an outcast.
Next up, we have Brandy Jones, CEO of Dallas Ambition. Brandy, tell us about a time you felt like an outcast.
At the age of 21, I felt extremely detached because by the time I was 21, I had lost 2 babies, buried my father. My husband was going to prison for an extensive amount of time. I was the primary responsible head of household for my sister, my brother, my grandparents, making sure that my mom was okay. So during that time in my life, there was a lot of responsibility on me, and because I'm the oldest, there was no outlet for me. There was no time for me to stop and actually grieve about what I had encountered. No one asked how I was feeling. I didn't have time to think about burying my father and then sitting in courts with my husband. It was a lot of different things collectively while trying to go to school and start up all these different organizations. It was just a lot of pressure on me at such a young age. So during that time in my life, I felt isolated. I felt like nobody understood because no one around me was going through anything that I had gone through. No one around me could understand how someone at my age could be going through this, because people assume at 21 you don't have any problems. You're just living life. You have everything given to you. All you have to do is go to college. All you have to do is just, do what you're told, get a job, whatever. But during that phase in my life, I literally had my world in shambles. It was up and down, and being on my own since 17, it was just a lot of pressure at a very young age. So during that time, I felt like nobody understood me and alone.
How has this experience shaped you into the person you are today?
It's pushed me. It's pushed me to be a better person, a positive person, and realize that I cannot rely on outside forces to help me, to encourage me, to uplift me. That's something that I had to find within myself. So during this time period, I discovered writing my vision, writing down how I felt, expressing myself through visual arts, expressing myself through mentoring other people and other kids. I fought for myself. So during this time, instead of me using it as a negative, I used it to fuel my passion, and I found my purpose, which is helping and being that person who's not afraid to go in places that most people won't go into. People judge and talk about you if you're from a certain area, but I come from the hood. I am from the hood. I have seen the grit of it all, and I know what it feels like to feel like nobody understands you and everybody is judging you. But I put it in. My organization, Dallas Ambition, is something that I'm very passionate about because it's my opportunity to give other people that chance that I didn't have.
What advice would you give to a teen battling feeling detached?
Don't give up. Nothing happens when you're in a place connected to everything and everybody. Sometimes God isolates you so that you can find your true purpose. And during that is where you'll find your strength. Don't ever give up. Everything that you need is inside of you. And even in your lowest moments, there is never a point where you should realize that God has forgotten you or that there is nothing, that your life is meaningless. Everything that you stand for, your existence is on purpose. It's for a purpose. Don't ever give up and lose hope in yourself. You are not an outcast, no matter what it looks like. You're not an outcast.
So Pierre, tell us about a time you felt like an outcast.
Growing up as a child, I felt ashamed. I was ashamed of the way I looked. My friends not my friends, the people in school always teased me, talk about my dark skin, my teeth, how bad I looked. I was also ashamed of my family because I wasn't raised by my mom or dad. I lived with my grandparents, but nobody really took good care of me. I was had to raise myself at a very early age, and I was also ashamed of the way my clothes and things like that. Anything that made me an easy target for people to talk about me in school.
How has this experience shaped you into the person you are today?
This experience shaped me into who I am today because I was able to use this to fuel my wants and desires. By not having anything, I knew that, once I became an adult, I could earn everything I didn't have. I knew that I would be able to go out and, there would be no excuses. There wouldn't be, I don't have this because of what circumstances I was in. I just never wanted to be a victim of my circumstances. So I used everything I went through to drive me to who I am today. Because I wanted nice clothes, I worked hard so I could have nice clothes. Because I wanted to travel, because none of my family had ever been on a plane before. I worked hard and got a job where I could travel. Everything I didn't have, all the desires that, I always wanted, I knew that, once I became an adult, I could fight for it. Now I look back and see the people who tease me and ridicule me and seeing that they don't have much and seeing what God has blessed me with, with all that I went through to give me the drive to attain all the things that I always wanted.
What advice would you give to a teen battling the same issue?
My advice would be to be strong and know that everything is temporary and everybody has to go through their storm. Me personally, I'm a man of God, and I believe that all the trials and tribulations I went through is so I can become the man who I am. I see so many people my age who, are so weak, because they haven't really been through much, so now everything cripples them as an adult. And so as a kid, I went through so much as a kid that nothing really affects me as an adult. So I would like to just tell everyone that, pain is temporary and you will get past it. If you be strong, one day you'll be in control of your own life and you can get all the happiness that you want. You are not an outcast.
So I'll say a specific time. I remember, it was actually 2 stories. So one, I was graduating high school. I needed to buy a car. I needed help financially. So I reached out to my father to ask him for help. Mind you, he's a doctor, so he's financially capable. When I called him, I remember he asked me, number one, why was I calling? And before I could even answer the question, he asked me if my mom was dead. My mom is sickly. I'm the only one that's helping her to take care of her. So that just made me feel very down. It damaged me a lot. And just being the fact that he's my father and he just never really wanted to help and he was forced to pay child support. But even so, just me calling my dad to get help, he just didn't want to help. So that damaged me. And then there was another time that I asked him to come out to my college graduation for undergrad, and he told me that he didn't want to. Not that he couldn't, but he just didn't want to. So just having my father absent from my life and just those interactions, it caused me to have issues with the way I interacted with other people, specifically men, I would say. How I dealt with rejection from other people, again, specifically men. I just felt damaged, I felt rejected, I just felt like I wasn't enough, I wasn't worth it. And although that my mom tried to overcompensate, I would say, it just wasn't enough. So I always had this emptiness within myself.
How has this experience shaped you into the person you are today?
I would say it pushed me to just try to be better. I always had this mindset where if I just push to be better, if I do well in school, if I just go above and beyond to be the person I'm destined to be, then eventually my dad will see me, in a sense, or it would show him hey, I did it without you. So it always pushed me to have faith and just persevere to be the woman that I was destined to be.
What advice would you give to a teen battling, feeling detached or damaged?
I would say don't allow anyone or anything to deter you from who you're trying to be or who you're basically destined to be. No matter what obstacles you face, you can get to wherever you want to go. Whatever goal you have, whatever you want to achieve, you can get there no matter what. So don't allow that to stop you from getting there. And most importantly, you are not an outcast. You are enough and you are worth it.
We have Kiki Brooks, and she's a worship leader. So Kiki, tell us about a time when you felt like an outcast.
Growing up, I felt different. I felt different because I was raised in a single parent home, and I was a pastor's kid. He passed away when I was younger, so I was striving to fit in. I was striving to be accepted by my peers, but at the same time I was trying not to conform to certain things that was deemed as popular versus really trying to serve and have a heart for God at such a young age. It was hard for me because there were times where I didn't like being called the church kid. So I would do things where I felt like that would be what would be accepted. I would always be in fights. I would always try to do the latest thing that felt popular, tried to go to parties, tried to look like I did not stand out, but some kind of way I always did stand out. So being different was always and still is a part of me.
How has this experience of being different shaped you into the person that you are today?
So today I've accepted being different, and I have accepted that that's just who I am, and I have used that even in today's times in a form of worship. I call myself an ambivert because off stage I'm kind of quiet, cool, calm, collect, and then when I'm on stage I just allow God to work in and through me, and I allow that light to shine out of me. So many of times people will be like, she's quiet, but then she transforms as soon as she hits the stage, and it's because I know that from my past growing up, everything that I've been through, just being with being different, being a product of abuse in all kinds of ways, being even a product of being in a single parent home, and now being a single parent, and the things that you go through with that has transformed me into who I am today. So I've accepted being different.
So what advice would you give to a teen battling feeling different?
I would say that you are not alone. Each and every person around you is different in their own way. You just have to accept that you are uniquely and wonderfully made, and God has made each and every one of us different. So accept that you are not an outcast. You are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Matt, tell us about a time you felt like an outcast.
Well, there was a time when I was in middle school, around 7th, 8th grade, that I went to one of my teacher's house, and she was serving lunch, and I was sitting at the table, and there were two girls there that I really had a crush on, one in particular, and she was visiting the teacher as well. We actually both went to school. It was kind of we all went to school, so we all knew each other from school, and I really thought this girl was really cute. And the teacher served food that I wasn't really a fan of eating. She served like a lentil soup, and I just didn't like soup like that at that time. And so the girl that I had a crush on, I come to find out, was jealous of me being there, and so she used me not eating that lunch against me, and later started rumors that I was anorexic. And at that moment, I really felt devalued and damaged because of I was already insecure about my body, because I was always have been very, small and skinny. And I thought that a man is sexy or attractive if he's got the perfect, GQ Sports Center body, like an athlete or something. And since I didn't have that, I was really self-conscious of it. And then her doing that just kind of pushed me over the edge. And then in order to cover that, I had to, since I couldn't trust girls anymore, even more so, I started to hide that with insecurities, and I became addicted to pornography and lust and all that, and which even made me feel more dirty and damaged because I knew it was wrong, but that was the only way I knew how to do it. And I really felt like I was God's first mistake because of that. And I really labeled myself that, to the point where I wouldn't eat in public because I was afraid that somebody would say something like that. And funny enough, me fearing that actually made people, because I would think it long enough, and then it became my behavior. And then I actually was a picky eater in public, and then people would start saying that. So, and it just kind of was and it led to a social anxiety problem that led me to be very anxious about other people and very afraid. I was afraid of people's opinions. I was afraid of women, borderline bitter, like I couldn't, like they all hated me. And so as I realized that was a big problem, I realized that I could not live the rest of my life that way. And I needed to change desperately.
How has this experience of being afraid or feeling damaged shaped you into the person you are today?
I would say that experience shaped me today because it allowed me to understand that God's grace and His ability to deliver is very potent and powerful today. It's allowed me to not only come through that season and have the grace in God to come through that season in my life, but now I'm at a point now where I'm far enough away from it that I can now spot it in other people and pour into other people on how to get out of it. Because I think a lot of people, they just need permission to believe in themselves and to understand that they do have value. And you're not judged, and your value is not in how you look or in how much money you make or in how many girls like you or how many guys like you. Your value is based on how God feels about you. And He thinks you're to die for. And we see that in Scripture. And so that experience helped me to see people hurting and to be able to mentor them. So now what I do with Simmons Essentials is I teach men how to believe in themselves and be confident, and they don't have to have everything together. They just need to be confident who they are and know that and I give them permission to be confident, and I give them tools on how to be intentional. And I do that with the teaching style that I have through all the resources that I offer them. And so Simmons Essentials has become a platform to teach men not only how to dress well, but how to be a man that's confident who he is.
What advice would you give to a teen experiencing fear or being into pornography or just being afraid to eat in public?
For those who are struggling with the similar thing that I struggle with, I would say that you need to understand, first of all, people really are not thinking about you. Everyone is in their own world, in their own mind, and they're not thinking about you. And when I realized that kind of, because I thought everyone in the room had an opinion of me, even if they knew me or not, and that's not true. People are not thinking about you. And people are as equally anxious about what you think about them. So when you realize that, then you understand that we're all kind of in the same boat. And I would just say, you need to understand that you don't have to perform for other people. The creator of the universe has taken so much intentionality and care into you that he knows how many hairs are on your head. He's numbered them individually. And so you don't have to split hairs with other people because, too many times people are splitting hairs while God is counting their hairs. And he's saying, I'm believing in you. So when you see that perspective, you don't have to worry about what everyone else is thinking about you. And when you don't perform anymore, you'll be able to see the world in a better light, and then you'll be able to function in whatever God wants you to function. And most importantly, you are not an outcast, and I understand that in my life, and I hope and pray that you do too.
We have Trey Mitchell, and he's the CEO of a mentoring program called Good Guys. Trey, tell us about a time you felt like an outcast.
Just dealing with people in public relations, I never really found my niche and successfully being really on the same page as everybody else. I feel like I desired to be more assertive and more, engaged, but I wasn't able to do that, and I was really struggling in terms of trying to understand why I was so passive and I was allowing people to run over me, and it just kind of led me to some situations where I was putting myself on the back burner in many situations, and I was hoping to really find a sense of belonging. I was hoping to find a sense of love and passion from people that I would come across with, whether it was best friends that claimed to be my best friends. I was finding out that it was only there to kind of get something from me and not really give something to me. And from that, I'll just allow that to kind of triple over, and it's created a sense of me being an outcast, but only from the standpoint. Go ahead.
Now I want you to say a particular story is, and then give us a story
Gotcha.
of being passive.
Gotcha.
Okay, go ahead.
Gotcha. So a particular story, recently, I was engaged and in a relationship for 3 years, and I allow myself to really take the back burner in a relationship, and I allow it to get ahead of me, and literally it created a sense of just me being passive in terms of knowing what I want in the relationship, in terms of knowing what the tone I set for us in the relationship. And it was one of those things where, because of my passiveness, it allowed the relationship and my fiance really leading the relationship outside of the spec that I saw us going. And it happens for about a whole year, where we're engaged, and it's one of those things where it was a sense of resentment, because I would literally hush my emotions, I would literally hush my true desires and my ideas in terms of what we should be doing, and I allow her to really dictate, knowing that she has some aspirations and some intellectual abilities to get things done, but not fully understanding that this is not exactly what I wanted for us to be. And actually, in retrospect to where we were in our relationship.
Do you know why you became passive? I don't think it just started from her.
Definitely. No, always wanted to fit in. Being passive literally started from me wanting to fit in, growing up, being obese, being fat, being the one that, really struggled to put my words together, to really hit that punchline, to kind of gravitate audience attention. It started there, it's me wanting to please individuals for a sense of acceptance, and it just really trickled over to me really being pushed over and not really being in a place of position, but being in a place of me being assigned a position. Yeah.
How has this experience of being passive shaped you into the person you are today?
Man, being passive has taught me that that never get you to what you truly want and what you truly desire in terms of your goals, aspirations. You have to really go out there and get it. You can't do things for the sake of what other people want for you, which is what I did as a relationship. I had it at that point, and I'm learning now to be more assertive, to be more direct, and to allow my yes to be yes and my no's to be no's, and that's really is helping shape me to be, in a director position now, because I can make confirmative decisions and make sure it's directly according to the scope that I intended for it to be. So,
What advice would you give to a teen who's battling feeling passive or not knowing how to find their voice?
oh man, if you're battling being passive, just know that you are valuable, know that you are loved, and you deserve respect. And so with that being said, that anything that you set your mind to, anything that you set your sights on, you can do it, and you don't have to have the affirmation of everyone, even including family, because I know family for me was a big deal growing up, even with my brother, him being 5 years older than me, wanting to fit in with him and going along with the flow, but that never accomplishes anything. So if you're struggling with being passive, know that you deserve what you actually see yourself accomplishing. Know that you deserve respect, love, and acceptance. And most importantly, you are not an outcast.
Next up, we have Ebony Purcell. She's a lead coordinator. Ebony, tell us about a time you felt like an outcast.
As a child, I felt like an outcast, specifically in school. I was being bullied a lot about my weight and also my skin color. Kids made fun about how dark I was, and there was this name specifically I was called, Blurple, and I hated that name. And also when at home, I was depressed because I was having some family issues. My father, he was an alcoholic, and he was also doing drugs. And then, so from middle school going to high school, it got to the point I would say to my friends, like, I hated my dad. I would see him pass out. He would fall down, knock over things. Him and I starting into arguments, and my feelings were always getting hurt, and it just built like a resentment towards my father. And so I just kind of just had to learn how to deal with that and talk to my friends, and also just writing in a diary was also helpful for me.
How has this experience shaped you into the person you are today?
It's definitely made me stronger in knowing how to deal with people putting you down, and how you have to stay confident and do things that make you happy, and just being involved in other things to keep your mind off of that.
What advice would you give to a teen battling feeling the same way that you did?
For you teenagers, you definitely need to find someone who you look up to, someone that you can talk to, especially if they've been in the same shoes as you. They can give you the best advice and just help you work through whatever it is that you're struggling. And you are not an outcast.
We have Ashley Cunningham. She's a graduate assistant. Ashley, tell us about a time you felt like an outcast.
One of the main times that will always stay clear for me was whenever I kind of started my high school kind of career, ending middle school to high school. Kind of towards the end of 8th grade, I found out that I had a pretty rare kind of disease, which is not like terrible, but not a lot of people have it. It's called hip dysplasia. So that's when your hip is not all the way in the socket. So with me, I had it all of my life, but I never really found out I had it until I did sports and hit puberty. And I had two options. One of the options was have the surgery now, and you'll be good until you're maybe in your late 40s, or if you don't have the surgery, you'll have to get a hip replacement by the time you're 21. So my parents decided to have the surgery at that time, and during that time too, we were in the process of moving. So I had my surgery, and with my surgery, I was required to be on bed rest for a little while. The first few months, I was homeschooled. So going into high school, I never really had that like transition and orientation and all that, like, oh, high school friends and everything like that. I kind of had to stay by myself, and my dad was a pretty big advocate for me, and kept me company. So going into that, I was at home for about 2 or 3 months being homeschooled. Then we had to move, and when we moved, I moved to the colony, and with that, I was still home for a little while, and I made the transition. I couldn't walk, I had crutches that helped me, so I couldn't bring my backpack with me, so I always had a buddy. And I was a new kid in town, so nobody really wanted to talk to me, which was kind of unfortunate, but I kind of found my way, found a little group of people to kind of sit with. It made it a little harder also because coming to and from school, I had to be on the disabilities bus, which I didn't have a problem with it, but a lot of people sometimes made fun of me for it. So I decided during that time after I healed up to join a basketball team, and I had made a group of friends, but there was a few people that were still kind of like not on my side. So I had a few times where I was actually bullied, which was unfortunate, but for me, it was because I was on crutches. For me, it was also because I was in that situation, and a lot of students didn't like that, I guess, because I was faking it.
How has this experience shaped you into the person that you are today?
It's definitely humbled me. It has brought me back down to earth, and kind of shown me that everybody comes from different paths of life, so don't judge them, and how they are. So.
And what advice would you give to a teen that may be disabled or be in the same situation as you?
Love yourself first. Self-love is definitely important. It makes the journey a lot easier. It's not your fault that you're in that situation, and you'll definitely come out of it. Try to make friends and talk to people about how you feel. Don't keep it in. It's a lot of work already, so why not ask for help if you need that help? I think that's my biggest thing. And you're not an outcast. Everybody goes through different walks in life.
We have Tiara Johnson. She's the owner of a cleaning company called Pinky's Touch. Tiara, tell us about a time you felt like an outcast.
I would say I felt pretty disrespected when I was raped at a very young age, and I was called so many things, and I started to live the life of what I was being called. Between being a hoe, I became very promiscuous. I didn't know what to do, and nobody believed me when I said I was raped, so, I felt pretty bad. And it took me some time to get to where I am now, but just not being able to talk to nobody about what my situation was, how could I get help, I had no avenue to even get help. I had to really will myself out of the disrespect. I had to will myself out of the pain or whatever I felt because I had to get over it. And I probably disrespected myself so much because of the things that I went through with the rape. The thing that makes me feel worse, it was my own boyfriend that did it. And I thought this person loved me because they told me they loved me so much. And they put me in a predicament to where when I said no, my no didn't mean anything. My no meant you could take whatever you wanted from me. And I continuously let people do that to me because that's what I thought love was. The person that told me they loved me raped me, so why not continue to accept the things that you was already getting? And that time, it was a lot. My own friends that knew about it, they weren't there for me, and they went against me and was like, oh, well, you're the liar, he didn't rape you, you was promiscuous already anyways, and I never had sex. My first time was being raped. But later on in life, I became a stripper because I love the sex industry. That's what I was brought to. And honestly, when I was in a strip club for so long, I started to learn things as I got older. But when I first went in, I was drinking to cope with whatever was going on. I was taking pills to whatever I could possibly do to make me numb the pain and what really was going on and what I was doing. I did whatever I had to do to be in a strip club. But I was getting all the attention from the men. They was calling me beautiful. They was calling me this. This is something that I never really had. But at the same time, they was taking from me as well. It wasn't I was beautiful because I was genuinely beautiful. It was beautiful because oh, well, I want to have sex with you, so you're beautiful. Oh, I'm gonna offer you this money to do whatever I need you to do. And I stayed in the strip club for a long time because I really did not have no outlet into leaving it. Didn't know no better. I knew it was something that I didn't want to do. So,
How has this experience shaped you into the person that you are today?
because that it showed me a lot of stuff, I knew I wanted to help people. So I started my own cleaning business. I felt like if I'm cleaning up my act, cleaning up everything in my life personally, why not help others? And since I love helping other people, I started with my cleaning business. And so far, me cleaning up other folks' homes, it's like a release of, I feel brand new. One, because I'm helping them out, because they're probably stressed out about whatever they're going on through their life, and to not have to clean up, even though it sounds so simple, I get joy out of cleaning up other people's homes. And then some people just can't because they're less fortunate to do it. And I'm glad that I went down an avenue to where I can bring people together and to help them clean up with them.
What advice would you give to a teen that has ever been raped or struggling with people believing in?
I would say for yourself, get counseling, definitely. Even if nobody else believes in you, you know what happened, you know your truth. So for yourself, get your own counseling and don't never give up, ever. Even though it might seem hard, you probably want to give up, don't do it. Just pray and keep going and believe in you. If you know you want better, you're gonna do better for yourself, no matter what. Don't let nobody take control of your life. And another thing, please join Lipstick Rated. If you can, do it. I think that's one of the best things because you have somebody that either went through something that you're going through right now and you don't know how to get through it because you're such a young age and your parents don't understand because they're too old. I'm just like you. You are not an outcast.
Thank you for watching today's episode of Not an Outcast. I hope that you were able to relate to some of these stories. And if you're going through a dark place in your life, I hope that by watching some of these stories that you felt empowered to keep pushing. You're not alone. You are not an outcast. Until next week, I look forward to hearing from you.